We have talked about the problem with extravagance and luxury. So, what should we do? Should we adopt the other extreme of consumption pattern and live a parsimonious lifestyle? Is that okay? Well, remember that Confucius always advocate for the middle way. Okay, so in modern terms, it is called the principle of moderation, and it can be applied to all aspects of life, including consumption. Certainly, Confucius didn't condemn frugality as much as extravagance, but there is still a limit. Remember, whenever we investigate people's economic life from the perspective of traditional Chinese culture or philosophy, we always consider the social impact of people's economic choice. Extreme frugality is not good, not only because it suppresses consumption and economic growth, but also because it has unfavorable ethical and social impact. Generally speaking, when people are overly frugal and stingy, their minds tend to be narrow and cruel, and their characters tend to be mean. But the character of the people is something that can be, developed and harnessed in much the same way that the parents teach their children to share their, favorite toy in order to develop generosity, whereas generosity is a crucial character for a person's social relation building. Now, in order to maintain harmony in social relation, people must be generous to some degree, and extreme parsimoniousness can lead to unpleasant social relation. So this is why in Confucius' teaching we find that there are plenty of minimum consumption guidelines that require people to abide by in their lives, as long as the conditions allow, of course. But we shouldn't take it lightly and think that, of course, as long as I have the money, I'll make sure that I live a high life. It's unfortunately not about that. It's about having the right consumption up to a high enough standard so that the mind and the body is positively developed. So let's have a look at what Confucius means by that from two different aspects, namely food consumption and clothing. Let's have a look. So in the Analects, there is a very interesting paragraph about Confucius' food preparation and his choice of food. Now, in this paragraph, which is in the excerpt, and I hope that you will have a chance to read it, but on the surface of this paragraph, we might come to a naive conclusion that Confucius has such a temper. Look, he didn't eat the rice unless it is neither overheated or nor damp. He didn't like to eat meat that was out of flavor, and Confucius required his meat to be cut properly. If it's not cut properly, he's not going to eat it. I mean, oh my God, it's very difficult to please, right? And well, later on you will see that Confucius also rather choose parsimony than extravagance. So it is reasonable to believe that this naive conclusion is not correct. In traditional Chinese medical science, by the way, food have various functions depending on its condition. And then they serve as medicine, as you probably know. The Chinese describe the functionality using things like heat, cold, yin, and yang. Ginger, for example. Ginger is of the character of heat. So if you drink ginger soup before you go to bed, you're almost likely to sweat during the night. And it sometimes helps to cure cold. So when Confucius talked about food preparation, it is usually from a health perspective. This is even more obvious when Confucius refused to eat meat that had gone bad by observing the smell and the color of the meat. A healthy eating style, by the way, is also related to eating the right food at the right time. Again, in traditional Chinese medical science, foods that are grown during special seasons have a function to harmonize human body. For instance, it is good to eat a watermelon during the summer because it expels the heat and keep you hydrated. But not a great idea in the winter, right? Because watermelons simply don't grow during the winter. And there's a reason for that. You don't want to lose heat in the winter. Also, when it comes to the cutting of the meat, it is also about health. For instance, there's a certain part of the animal that is not good for human consumption. The rest of that paragraph should be quite self-explanatory, and so you can have a look on your own time. Now, you might wonder, well, our lifestyle and food production process are very different now, and we won't be able to draw much experience from these detailed cuisine preparation. Well, that's true. However, if we know the living style will change in the future, well, the ancients must have known that too. So what's the point of recording all these details? Well, when we read these ancient texts, like I said, we must learn to draw inferences that are applicable to our own time. I mean, this is the whole point of recording these details and presenting to us modern people. The ancient sages didn't expect a forever constant society with no changing lifestyle, but they did want us to benefit from the principles. Basically, a chaotic and uncontrolled eating style is simply harmful. So even for an ordinary person who, does not pursue a luxurious lifestyle, attention to detail in food preparation is still desirable. So what does that have to do with economics anyway? The system of rights in consumption is a kind of external reflection of internal discipline. So when people's minds are calm and function in a harmonious fashion, their behavior shows the same thing. But when they don't, people can harness their mind through practicing rights. So from the outside to the inside, right? So the system of rights on the outside can nurture human characters on the inside. Therefore, if rights are considered when making consumption decisions, consumption will not only serve the basic purpose of survival, but also raise human characters and develop social order. So this is the highest level of consumption, and it has everything to do with economics. So this is particularly the case when it comes to the consumption of clothing. So in order to understand Confucius' ideal of the clothing system, we'll just focus on two functions of clothes. One is the practical function, and the other is social order. Now, among many examples in the traditional text, we'll just pick one example related to children, okay, to demonstrate living standard. I think it's fair to say that how much care put into the design of children's wear, to a certain extent, reflects the complexity of the society's consumption level. So it is recorded in the Book of Rites that young children's clothes are well decorated. His upper garment is of black linen with an embroidered edging. Also, all his sashes, girdles, and hair strings are attached with embroidered edging. For health purpose, children should not wear furs or trousers of silk because it is too warm for children. And for practical purpose, children do not wear lower garment for the convenience of doing services. However, a more important function of clothing is to stimulate respect. Now, as you can imagine, respect does not come from a high-end brand or a jaw-dropping price tag, but only comes from the recognition of higher virtue. In Confucius' system, social position is directly related to virtue. Although people are born unequally in terms of wealth and family nobility, people are encouraged to cultivate personal virtue in order to advance up to a higher social rank. So the design of clothing system reflect social position, and in turn, it also reflects personality. Therefore, different classes are designated to different clothing style, especially the color. For example, as you can see on the slide, the decoration of the emperor, the marquis, the baron, and the great officials are fairly different. They have different decorations, different animals on the design, and different color. Well, we don't need to focus too much on the detail of the clothing design, as we certainly, we're not trying to copy them. But what we can see is that the costume of Confucius' system is not simple at all. It is, beautiful, it's complex, intricate, and more importantly, it has social value. The use of the clothing system is a mean of reward and respect. So, in a way, consumption like this is necessary and also meaningful.